Attention passionate Pittsburgh Steelers fans. Latest news, something big is happening in the AFC North and it could change the game. We're talking about a direct impact on Pittsburgh Steelers' path to another Super Bowl run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Pittsburgh Steelers fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with your friends and Pittsburgh Steelers fans. Let's get to the news now, guys. If you've been paying attention to the NFL landscape, especially the AFC North, you know the Steelers are always at the center of the action. And this offseason, it's no different. Pittsburgh has been making some moves, some bold, some strategic, all with the eye on contending at the highest level. But as we dive into the latest, it's clear that there's a lot of chatter, some strategic shifts, and a lot of questions about how this team is shaping up for what's expected to be another intense season. Let's start with the wide receiver core, because that's where a lot of the focus is right now. The Steelers, historically, have always prioritized a strong, reliable receiving group, and going into this season, it seemed like they had a plan to bolster that area. Remember back in March, when they traded for DK Metcalf? At the time, that was a huge move. You're talking about acquiring a legitimate, game-changing wide receiver, someone who could be the go-to target for Kenny Pickett or whoever would be under center this season. DK Metcalf has proven game after game that he's a dynamic presence, with the size, speed, and contested catch ability that defenses have to respect. Pairing Metcalf with George Pickens, a young star with big play potential, created what looked like one of the most exciting duos in the league. Imagine that two playmakers stretching the field, making tough catches, and elevating the offense to a new level. But then, things took a surprising turn. Just weeks after the draft, the Steelers decided to trade George Pickens to the Dallas Cowboys. Now, that's a bold move, and it raised a lot of questions among fans and analysts alike. What was behind that decision? Well, reports suggested there were some tensions, some disagreements behind the scenes, possibly between the coaching staff and the players, or perhaps some differences in vision for the team's future. Whatever the reason, it left the Steelers in a bit of a tricky spot. Because, if you think about it, they're now back to square one in terms of their receiver depth chart. They have DK Metcalf, a true no. A guy who can take over a game, but the rest of the group is more uncertain. The question is, do they have enough around Metcalf to make a real push, especially with a critical season looming? Because, let's face it, the Steelers are in a unique position this year. They've got a window, a shot to maximize their chances with Aaron Rodgers now in the AFC North. Rodgers, as you all know, is a future Hall of Famer with multiple Super Bowl rings, and the Steelers, with their solid defense and a promising young quarterback in Kenny Pickett, want to do everything possible to make this season count. But the receiver group, that's the big question. Because beyond Metcalf, the options are a bit shaky. The Steelers have some promising young talent, but consistency and proven production are what they're really missing. That's why there's been talk about bringing in a veteran, someone who can slot into that number 2 role and make a difference. One name that's been floated around quite a bit is Odell Beckham Jr., a player who, despite recent injuries and some ups and downs, still carries a lot of weight in the league. And interestingly, Beckham has a history that ties him to Aaron Rodgers. Remember, Rodgers was eyeing Beckham during his time with the Packers, and after Rodgers moved to the Jets, Beckham was also linked with the Jets, with some reports suggesting that Rodgers still has some interest in reconnecting with him. So, what's the deal? Well, Beckham spent last year with the Miami Dolphins, but his season was marred by injuries. He's been teasing a comeback this season, hinting that he's ready to return, but nothing's been finalized yet. If Beckham is truly prepared to come back and play at a high level, could the Steelers be the right landing spot? Especially at a relatively low cost? That's a question many fans and analysts are pondering. Because at this point, Beckham's production has dipped significantly since his 2019 season when he broke the 1,000-yard mark. Since then, his numbers have declined, and he's failed to hit 600 yards in the last few seasons. Still, his name carries weight, and he's a proven big play threat when healthy. But here's the reality. If the Steelers are looking for a true second option, a guy who can reliably come down with contested catches, stretch the field, and give Kenny Pickett a security blanket, Beckham might not be the perfect fit anymore. His recent production doesn't quite match what they're probably hoping for, especially if they want to maximize their offensive potential with Rodgers in the mix. Now, stepping back a bit, it's important to look at the bigger picture. The Steelers' offense has always been built around a strong running game and a disciplined, smart passing attack. With Najee Harris and Jalen Warren in the backfield, they've got a solid ground game, and their offensive line has been improving. But the passing game, especially the wide receiver position, has been somewhat inconsistent. They've had flashes of brilliance from Pickens, and now with DK Metcalf, they have a legitimate star, but the overall depth and reliability are still questions. And that's why this offseason, the Steelers' front office is under pressure to make strategic moves. They want to give Kenny Pickett the best possible tools, especially with a quarterback of Rodgers' caliber now in the division. The last thing they need is to go into a season with a glaring weakness at receiver, which could become an Achilles heel when the games really matter. Looking at the roster, there's also the potential for other signings or trades. The NFL is a constantly evolving league, and teams are always looking for that extra piece to push them over the edge. The Steelers have been known for their shrewd drafting, but sometimes an experienced veteran can make all the difference. It's not just about adding a name, it's about filling a need, adding leadership, and someone who can step in immediately and produce. Now, if we shift focus to the broader division, it's impossible not to acknowledge how competitive the AFC North is getting. The Cincinnati Bengals, with Joe Burrow and a loaded receiving core, are still one of the top contenders. The Baltimore Ravens, always a tough out, are also looking to improve their offense with Lamar Jackson healthy and more weapons. And the Cleveland Browns, with their dominant defense and the addition of Deshaun Watson, are not a team to overlook. So the Steelers know they need to be aggressive if they want to stay competitive. That's why the idea of bringing in Odell Beckham Jr. isn't just a rumor, it's a strategic move that could pay dividends. If Beckham can stay healthy and recapture some of his old form, he could serve as a reliable secondary target for Rodgers, or whoever ends up under center. And let's not forget, adding that veteran presence can also lift the entire locker room, providing leadership and experience that young players can learn from. But it's not just about one player. This is about the overall team-building philosophy. The Steelers have built a reputation for disciplined football, a tough, physical style that often wins close games. They've had their share of ups and downs, but the core of that team remains strong. The defense, led by T.J. Watt, is always a threat to disrupt any offense, and the special teams have been reliable under Coach Tomlin. Now, adding a piece like Beckham or any other veteran receiver could tip the scales, making the Steelers a more balanced, dangerous team come September. And speaking of defense, let's not forget that Pittsburgh's defensive unit is still among the best in the league. T.J. Watt, Cam Hayward, Minkah Fitzpatrick, these are game changers. The defense can keep them in games, but they need the offense to step up and put points on the board. That's why this offseason focus on the receiver position is so critical. If the Steelers can find that reliable second option, it could be the difference between a playoff appearance and an early exit. Now, as we look ahead, the big question is, will they pull the trigger on a veteran like Beckham, or will they explore other options? The NFL offseason is full of surprises, and sometimes, the most unexpected moves can define a team's season. The Steelers are always known for their strategic approach, balancing veteran leadership with young talent. They've shown they're willing to make bold moves when necessary, and this year might be no different. In the end, it all comes down to maximizing their window with Rodgers, building a balanced offense, and leveraging their strong defense. The AFC North is no joke, and every game will count. The Steelers are well aware of that, and they're doing everything they can to position themselves as serious contenders. Whether it's through trades, signings, or internal development, the goal remains clear: make that playoff push, compete for another Super Bowl, and keep the legacy alive. And now, Pittsburgh Steelers fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on all this? Do you believe bringing in a veteran like Odell Beckham Jr. makes sense? Or do you think the team should focus on developing the young talent they already have? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion matters so much to us and to the Steelers. And don't forget, I'll be back soon with more updates, so stay tuned for the latest Pittsburgh Steelers news. We're in this together, and I can't wait to see what the future holds for our beloved team.